Is it, you reopened it?
Says it's recording.
Okay, there's a little button you can press to stop or to. I think Casey may have set it up to automatically start.
Oh.
Word for you. I recommend that you ask some sort of legal review and possibly design review now. But I think this time here, if you could ask them if you'd like to be on the list and review this before whatever Los Altos Hills presents, now what they have presented does not. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have one question. I do, if I may. Okay, you said unauthorized, so.
Okay, nobody claims it. Fremont Road, the property owners in Los Altos put that's when that was in about 1990, and that's when people wanted to do this. They wanted to go up and over, and so they yes, and Los Altos is liable.
So it's full disclosure. I met with Jim Wing a year or 2 years ago. And I think we will walk that trail.
Yes, we did.
Okay, I just want to make.
Thank you very much.
Other comments?
Oh.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the main part of the agenda.
One thing that I forgot to do when I was roll call Wang, I have to ask for one thing. Commissioner Wang,
Yes.
Can you verify that the information that's on the agenda is correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. There you go. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so minutes, and that's one of the windows that I tested to see if I had internet. You know, I've lost it, so somebody has a copy of. And if not, I'm looking for the minutes of October 17th, 2023. Oh, second it. You second? Motion by Commissioner Couture, second by Commissioner Morris. Director Hernandez, have you?
Okay. Anyone opposed or abstain? Cindy, are you good with the minutes? Commissioner Wang?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Thank you.
All right, to approve. Moving on to item number 2, call for art review from the council member chamber steps. Review and provide input on the draft call for art that has been prepared by staff. I give the floor to staff.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, what you have in front of you on this item is just staff has put up one call for art already for the gallery here in the community center. This art that you have in your hand, and this actually was posted no, actually I think it was posted before, but it's online in our packet, and you can see it. It is just a draft. I didn't want to send this out yet until I got input from the commission. So please, the commission doesn't need to take any action on this, but if you once again, if you have input on that, you can scan it, make your notes, and email it to me, and I will finalize it, and then staff will just move on with it. But
Would
Go
you
ahead.
like to hear input? Any
Take it, but I think with the limit you had to review it, I suggest that you take it back and give me your full input if you like.
Okay, before we get to that though, are there any public speakers on this topic?
No.
Okay. I actually do have a couple of comments. Does anybody else have any comments? Go ahead. Okay, on, the goals section. This is on page, the second page, the pages aren't numbered, but it's the second page. You've identified 3 goals. Must be unique, of high quality. The artist should be able to work with the committee to design the project. The artist should demonstrate the ability to fully understand maintenance and longevity of the project. So I would like to add another goal, and I don't know if this becomes a requirement or a goal, because they are steps. And right now they're painted this yellow, which makes them very visible. I would think that a goal of any art that's put on there should add and enhance the visibility of the steps as a requirement. And that, you know, that'll be a guiding factor for the art that is selected. That would be one suggestion. Where you put it in this document is up to you. Just, I think visibility needs to be very important. Secondly, under the selection criteria, it's on the 3rd page. You've got the 4 selection criteria there. What I would like some more clarification on the issue of, on the 3rd one, understanding of the maintenance of the stairs. My question specifically is, do we expect the artist to maintain the art? And if so, what aspects of the art? Is it cleaning? Is it restoration? Is it this kind of thing? Because obviously stairs are highly used, highly exposed. So what kind of maintenance are you talking about?
Under that statement, it would be maintenance that only the artist can do, such as touch-up paint, any kind of, also understanding of regular maintenance that staff would take care of as well, so they could express that. And a lot of this will come out in the discussion and interviews with the chosen artist to find out that whatever they do, because nothing is decided on what is actually going to be used there yet, and how it's going to be designed. But once it's designed and once everything, all the and regular maintenance and then touch-up maintenance going forward and keeping that. So that's what our request is for that understanding.
So the only maintenance, to make sure I'm hearing you correctly, so the only maintenance that an artist, for which they would have responsibility on an ongoing basis would be for the integrity of the art itself.
Yes.
So they might have to touch it up or restore it. And then to make sure that it is that the city would do. And so that might require special consideration of the material used to do the art. It has to be robust. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I just have a comment on ours to complete this project. I think it would be nice to say both risers and tread, because to me, I would be thinking you're only doing the risers and not the tread.
Well, that's what I read too.
Where is this? I'm sorry.
I'm just, I think it should be on the first one. The city is looking for an artist to complete this project.
Okay.
It would be, are we doing the treads and the risers, or are we just doing the risers?
That's a good one. I assumed it was just the risers.
Does the commission have any input for staff on what? we're
I'm
doing?
assuming it's just the risers.
That's what I,
Yeah, but it's not clear here.
I thought that's what we talked about initially.
I know, but if I was
It doesn't
an,
say it there.
if I was an artist, I would think I'd get to paint the whole thing.
Yeah,
Or
so
a
clarification.
I'll try to word that. A question staff has for would we be limited? Because I don't expect that there's going to be art on the tread that may pose an issue. But what about a connection to the side concrete pieces that are there.
I think
Are we opening, I mean, that'll be in the discussion with the artist,
that could be.
which the commission will be involved in.
Yeah, that's part of the risers, really.
Okay,
Sort of.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your turn then.
Okay, so I'm gonna be a little dense. There's the yellow part.
Yes.
And we're talking about adding these side pieces where the railings are.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, is this supposed to be a temporary installation or a permanent installation?
Don't think with the materials being used that it could be considered temporary.
Okay, so it won't need to be removed at some point. So whatever's put on there is supposed to last for.
Well, it begs the question, are you saying, just like we have saying that you guarantee the in perpetuity? In perpetuity, would we actually say something like that? I doubt that we would. We might want to establish maybe a long-term, I mean, because we could literally reconstruct the
Like a
place
2-year
and the
lease.
art has to
Yeah.
be destroyed.
Yeah.
It's like a sculpture that I think that
Once it's there, it's there. I don't think the artist is gonna wanna try to come back and take it off.
So you can paint over it.
But will
They
they be
have to
upset if we
If
take
we-
it?
Yeah, I think you have a point, is will they be upset?
Yeah.
Build that in into the discussion, because one artist may not have an issue with it only being up for 2 years, another artist may.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
And so is it, I think there as long as it's there.
As long as we want it there, the city
Well,
will.
Right, the city, so there may be a
Decides to have it.
legalese thing. Do they sign checks typically?
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll have to be in the
Yeah,
contract.
the agreement.
Okay.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Yep, I was just gonna add there that we should put something in there that says the city has sole discretion, right? To once it's down, the city should have sole discretion to, on the timing of how long it stays up there, of when it decides that it's gonna, remove it or paint over it or something. You want the rights, once it's down, you want the rights to be back to the city. For that is what I would imagine. And then the other just little nit is on the dates. You have 2023. I think you meant 2024.
Yes, we caught that. Thank you.
Any other input?
About how do we, so I see the materials sent to you, but are we putting it on Cafe?
Yes.
And so when that's done, will you notify the commissioners so that
Yes.
if we want to edit places? Okay, all right, good.
Okay, that's fine. I'll talk.
Okay, I think those are all my questions.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yep. All right, you have the input you need?
I have the input I need, so next. So if I could ask the commission, if they still want to take some time to look it over, submit that to me by next week sometime. Thank you.
Right. Moving on to item number 3, art sculpture style selection.
Thank you. I'll take it. So with this one, I don't think the heart art sculpture photos were posted. Oh, they were not. Okay, yeah. So Cindy, I apologize for that oversight. So you do not have the access to see them. I will send them to you though, so you can take a look. And actually, I'm gonna share my screen. I could
also go like that, but if he shares the screen.
let me share the screen and also I can show Cindy and anybody who's also observing. But I have handed out 4 photos. I am in contact with the artist. He will not give me a price on them, so I want to I'd like the commission to narrow it down to one style. And I will take some time to explain these styles once I start posting. So let me share my screen. Because it was confusing. It took me like 20 minutes to figure out what the differences were. So let me see. Okay, I'm sharing my screen now. Hopefully it doesn't lag too much. Do these. Oh, please don't go off one. Commissioner Wang, can you tell us when you see it?
I see it.
You can see it.
Okay. You can?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, he laid them out for me, so I make sure everybody understands
Do
this.
you have names for them?
Yes, I did have names for them. This one is the one that's on your screen, REDI. So that's red exterior, diamond inside, okay? So that is, now let me explain, the diamond pattern is that steel diamond pattern that you've seen on like truck hitches and stuff like that. So as long as everybody understands what the diamond is. So this is a flat red exterior, diamond silver, basically, interior. So that's the ready one. The next one, let me make sure it switches over.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is RIDE, R-I-D-E. Or, is that right? That's not right.
Red interior, diamond exterior.
Red interior, no, that is right. Red interior, diamond exterior. Okay, so that's the red flat on the inside, the silver diamond on the outside. Okay. The next one that will come up right now is the all silver one, which is titled Fade. I don't know why it's called that. This is a diamond exterior, silver inside, basically. I forgot why it was
So
called fade.
silver interior, diamond exterior, so side.
Yeah,
Let's use, keep the.
I don't know. Yeah.
Picture.
These were the things that he had. Yeah, he had. Oh, yeah, I may have written it incorrectly. And then the last one is the diamond red exterior. Yeah, red exterior, diamond exterior. So it's a red diamond pattern on the exterior.
And then
Yeah.
silver.
And it's silver flat on the inside, yes. So with that, those were the 4 styles that he says he could do. As you know, that he may understand that as well. So he was going to sell us 3, which broke it down to about 25. So once the commission has decided 2 things, which one, I will ask him for a price, and also a recommendation, and it doesn't have to be one necessarily, but the second thing I'll ask the commission is, can we come up with a location? And once we prioritize those locations, I will take that back to council with a price and see if we can't get the money for that part, whichever we decide. Questions?
Yes, I have a question. Did council, when council rendered their decision to buy one, I wasn't in that council meeting. Did they know that the 4 styles are available?
No.
No.
They only saw one. They only saw one. That was that one. The one on the pillar.
Well, the only reason it can be germane is that, well, number one, they didn't have all the data. So just, but secondly, you know, sometimes it's easier to, and I'll use critical wording, it's easier to accept multiple iterations of something when, you know, that there's some interest in that. Oh, did you see that one? Well, I saw that one, and then people talk. It could have been a factor. Maybe it would not have been a factor, but I don't know if procedurally anything can be done about this. It's a done deal. The fact that there were 4 different styles and council rendered the decision, not knowing that, it is what it is.
I would say right now it's a whole different process, almost. I think we're into the process that we weren't into previously, and we're gonna make a decision.
Okay,
So I would just recommend that this commission make a decision on their preferred style of art, and then a preference or a hierarchy of location, at least.
so why don't we do a hierarchy in both cases?
You
Hierarchy
could do
on
that too.
style and a hierarchy
You
on
could do
location, and then they'll have all the information. Should they change their mind, they have the freedom to do that, knowing what we're thinking. Is there all of that? Yep. So focusing on style, I will defer to the,
Focusing on style, I'll go for red.
and what would you, give me at least 2 or 3.
Reasons
No,
why?
no, no,
No.
just, ready is the only one you like, you don't like.
That's the only one.
Okay. And then, Commissioner Corrigan?
So I agree with, Commissioner Couture. Ready was the number 1 choice. I may have been the number 1 choice of the Park Commission, don't recall. Just maybe rank the other one. However, they're all, in my opinion, beautiful, but what's nice about Ready is it's up on a pedestal, so it will be noticeable for traffic and people going by, as opposed to the other ones that are on lower platforms.
Is the pedestal included in that? I didn't think the pedestal, I thought we had to make our own. I don't think the pedestal, we can do whatever we want and put it on. Yeah, it's just the heart.
Okay, well, I
Well,
still,
we should state, I mean, I agree with you, right?
Yeah.
Others may have a different opinion, but I think pedestal is paramount.
Yes, I agree.
No. Commissioner Wang, do you have an opinion on the pedestal, low or high?
No opinion on the pedestal, low or high, but I did want to vote for the first one.
Okay, so you said ready is your number 1, do you have a number 2?
The last one.
The number 2 would be
Number 4 is red. Diamond.
would be number 2 for me as well.
So red exteriors are the top 2 then, right?
And then the third for me would be the silver exterior, red interior. And then the 4th one would be silver.
Okay. Commissioner Morris? Yeah.
Although here's the difficulty for me is location makes a difference. So so my top 2 choices, ready, because I know that was already a chosen one also. And this silver, which we think might be side, but we don't know, is my second choice. Here's the issue is that, depending on where you put it, you could have massive reflection. So you have to think about what is going to reflect off of this sculpture. Is it going to blind people when they're driving? You know, so I think that's something we kind of need to establish as our location. And then the other is pedestal, no pedestal. For me, it's dependent on location. Because one of the places we looked at was catty corner from the red sculpture on Grant Road, Grant Fremont. You can't have a pedestal one at that spot. It has to be lower to the ground or you won't see it. It'll be up in the trees. So depending on where we place these, we have to determine what it's going to be sitting on. So I think that's important. And then reflection is another one. So ready number 1, this one's my number 2. Number 3, I would probably go with red with silver interior. So red diamond with silver interior. 3rd would be the silver diamond with red interior. Ride.
Oh, your 3rd is silver diamond with red interior.
No, my 4th. Sorry about that. Ride is my 4th.
Red is 4. So the silver on silver.
First is ready, second is the total silver everything. Third is the diamond red with silver interior. Did I get that right? Anyway, I'm not attached.
I got it.
First is this one for her.
She's ready for number one. I don't remember what she said.
Ready for one.
Commissioner Wang, can you repeat your preferences for style?
Sure. My first choice is number 1, the red exterior and silver or diamond interior. Second choice is number 4, the red diamond exterior. Third choice is the silver exterior, red interior. And fourth choice is all silver.
Okay. No, this was.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I like ready, number 1. I think the all silver is very pretty, but I didn't see it in our environment.
It's very industrial.
So I don't like it in this environment. Not that I wouldn't maybe put it somewhere else, but I don't like it in the city. I think it would be really beautiful inside, but anyways, so ready number 1, and then, the diamond, the other red version. No, that one. The red diamond. Exterior.
Exterior.
Yeah, number 4. Sorry, I'm not. I won't give them a.
Okay.
All right.
So ready was number 1.
Ready and reedy are number 1 and number 2. The other 2 are, take it or leave it.
Okay, so now location.
Mhm.
To repeat the locations in case people don't remember, and not in any order. 999 Fremont, which is gonna become a substation for the police, presumably. And then, an interior location neighborhood at Bendigo and Green Oaks. Southwest corner of Grant and Fremont. Next, the Arboretum and Grant Island. There's an island at Arboretum and Grant. And then finally, the crossroads between Homestead and Foothill. So, does anybody pick the 999 Fremont as their number 1?
I thought we talked about this last time, yeah.
We did. Did we rank, did we end up?
Yeah, we ranked and he took all the.
That's what you have our rankings that we ranked them.
I thought we said we wanted to do our homework and go look at those locations, because not everybody looked at, so honestly, I did not save those because I thought we were gonna do.
And we'll vote again.
No, we'll vote again. Okay,
Okay,
so 299 9903, are you raising your hand?
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
3999 Fremont.
How are we doing this then? Are we ranking them?
I'm gonna put, I'm gonna ask just to kind of narrow it down, who has anyone as their number 1? I wanna get those votes on the table very fast.
Okay, very good.
Because it may make ranking the rest move.
Yeah.
If everybody picks, the number 1 with a dominant. And we should be willing, even though, let's say one gets 4 votes out of 6 or 5, we should be willing to hear if that 5th person doesn't agree, we should be able to, maybe they can convince us, but, so we'll hear dissension, but, so who had, 999 Fremont as their number 1? Commissioner Couture, Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Corrigan.
And I just have one caveat to that, if I may.
Yeah.
There. It may not fit. I don't know the size of this sculpture.
Okay,
So
and,
we have to determine fit.
okay, Commissioner Wang, do you have 999 Fremont as your number 1?
Can I abstain from this vote?
Yes, you may.
Thank
Okay.
you. I just don't feel qualified because
Um,
I didn't go look at the locations.
I get it.
For me, it was a very, very close tie between 999 Fremont and, the Homestead and Foothill Crossroads. And the reason I like that is because it's kind of the first time you really hit Los Altos. So it kind of demarcates that place. I went out there and looked at it, and yeah, it is a crossroads. I mean, you could conceivably see that some bad accident happened, you could just take it out. So people tend to drive slower at Fremont. I was going back and forth, and I would go a couple days, it was 9 and 9, and then I come back, no, I really want to have a southern demarcation for our city. I think in the end, though, because of the risk to the structure, I'm gonna go with 999 Fremont.
To give the city council, like, say, our recommendation is 999 Fremont, and then give backup. If they don't like it, and then backup to be Homestead.
I like it. It seems pretty clear that the 5 people here, 4 are with this.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the rankings. So, what were each of your second choices? So what's your second?
You know, I didn't have a second choice.
Okay.
But if I had
Yeah.
to listen to everybody, I go by that, Trader Joe's and all that stuff a lot. I was concerned about the traffic because those people there are crazy when they're turning on those. That's my problem with that location.
Okay. Commissioner Morris?
Not quite yet, but I was gonna say, there is a risk 99 Fremont, which I brought up, which if it fits, we'd have to have some posts there probably to protect it from cars. I don't corner, well, but they've done the Tom Depot corner numerous times, they've hit that. They've also hit some bushes, that are in front of the old US Bank a couple
Well,
of
it
times.
depends on where you're gonna put it, because if you're gonna put it right at the corner of, what is that, Mora that goes across?
No, more is up in the hills. It's at Fremont and, Loyola? No. Sorry, my brain just went where I'm envisioning. it.
Oh, I'm not.
So
I'm
then the
envis-
triangle goes like that.
Oh, huge,
Or,
abutment where it it's up this high.
yeah, and that was where the drive-through was. So you would go around the building. So in my mind, I call that the back side of the building.
Ah,
That's on A Street. So Thomas Depot is across the
Got
street
it.
from it. Okay,
Well, we have to know what the police.
I was
station
thinking of it as
look
an
like, too.
entryway to the area.
Yeah.
So do you
Okay,
have a second?
okay, second, really like the Bendigo, but I think we need to talk about what to do in that location more. So then my second would be Grant Road, set low, catty corner from the red one.
Okay. Commissioner Corrigan? Vice Chair Corrigan, sorry about that. Takes a while.
I think my backup location would be Homestead and Foothill, and I like the idea of having red opposite Grant and Fremont, but there's already sculpture there, and I feel Homestead and that south part, like you said, it's a second.
Okay. So for my second, it is Homestead Fremont, because that was when I was going back
Yeah.
and forth.
Makes sense.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we talking about where the planters are at Homestead, across from Lucky? Or are we talking further down?
No,
where-
you're talking about where
You're talking about Arboretum in Fremont,
you come down and you have the stop sign. You either take a left to go to Cupertino or you take a right to go to Los Altos.
Mhm.
She's talking about that. It's Foothill Expressway and Homestead, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Homestead's the one that goes that way and that gas station's there.
Right, and so across from the gas station. is what you're
Yeah,
talking
there's a-
about,
Yeah,
right?
there's planners
There's
there. There's planners there.
Okay.
No, I know there is because
But that would be another-
they're like triangular or
only have, two, two people.
Just to clarify, if I may, Chair,
Sherry's-
I wanna make sure we've got this,
Yeah. Or we split.
because I may be
Jean
wrong.
and Janet for Homestead and. Or
I
Terry,
was
did you say Homestead?
I was
too?
okay with Homestead.
Well, there we go. We've got three.
I was okay.
That's all
with
you need.
Homestead.
I'm okay with it. I'm concerned about the sculpture.
So on this image, where would
Well, if
the
you look
sculpture
at-
be? On that dry patch?
Okay, is this what we're talking?
Yeah, so that straight up where Cindy's face is Homestead. And, right? And then the one down here at the bottom is Foot Homestead, and actually they're coming west.
Yeah, the dry patch, you're right.
And it's, so it's that semi-triangular looking.
It's
Yeah,
an upside
right
down
there,
triangle.
right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, that
Sorry,
patch in
I
the
was
middle.
thinking the area to the left. of it. I thought about that area where the cursor is.
Well, I'm happy with that too.
I'm fine with that also.
Then I would be
That's
okay
probably
with it,
safer.
but not in the
I would
island.
safer.
That's probably safer.
Is there a county fence there?
Yeah, that's probably safer. I mean, for the
You have to
sculpture.
think, and also for drivers. It's Grant Road on the left, when you're
Yeah.
coming along that to get towards Homestead, it's blind for those cars exiting Foothill to go around onto Homestead.
Yeah.
So there's no, that would be a traffic hazard.
Okay, so then we got that one straight then. So,
It's that left island.
so
I call it a peninsula.
Yeah.
if
In
we
the-
didn't have lag, you guys would already be seeing it. Sorry.
Put your cursor there again, please, and so that we
Oh,
all.
I had already changed the screen, so I
Oh.
can't do it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's getting there.
Okay,
You'll see a close up right now.
okay.
I just gotta,
Okay, so number one, 999 Fremont, number two, that, right there.
Yes.
okay, so that's unanimous, everybody in here?
Yeah, it's with one
Yes.
abstention in terms of, it's not a formal vote, it's just the
One,
recommendation.
two. Okay, that's easy.
And then 999 Fremont, the location, because
Yeah.
we see two different
We
locations.
can look, okay, so that's the corner we're looking at, then, right?
Yeah.
Can you go to
Okay.
999?
Okay,
Sure.
that's good.
No.
Is that good for you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then we'll
Take
get,
a trip.
then we've got 4 people saying okay on that. Anyways, if you compete, they need a heart near them.
Oh, that's very.
Even for you.
I still aren't totally recovered.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about where the 2 parking places are?
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Exactly where I would put it.
I like that.
That's the
Like
entrance.
Between the two poles? Between the two light poles?
Yes.
Yes, but I think the dirt area might
You'll see
handle
it
it.
right now.
Yeah,
Let's go.
there we go.
There it is, that's.
I think the dirt.
Yeah, the
area
light
has
pole
enough
will
room.
get taken out before the sculpture will get
There you
taken
go.
out.
And I don't think anybody's hit that corner ever.
No.
So that's.
So that's one, we've seen 2. Do we want to put a third option in there?
For location?
Yeah, for location, or just leave it at those are our top 2 locations the council's gonna see?
Yes.
I think it's
Is that all right? Is everybody?
Yeah, I think we give them two.
I don't, yeah, don't give them too many.
I don't think we're like, yeah, we have to have a third, you know.
I like it. Very good.
So, sorry, are we just buying
Yeah,
one
thank
and
you, Manny, for
installing
putting
one
those-
of the
Sure.
sculptures?
Correct. That item?
Moving on, may we discussion? Staff?
Sure, what I will go ahead and do is, explain what this item is. So staff would like staff was approached by Magical Bridge, and I hope I didn't leave the S's anywhere on Magical Bridges, but it's Magical Bridge. The organization that puts together the accessible playgrounds. And so we were approached by them on a few occasions in years past, but this one, we see that this has some potential now. They've modified it. This meeting is get everyone here a little familiar, if you're not familiar with Magical Bridge and their playground systems. We do have grounds that are up for replacement, and that would leave possibilities of when we do replace those playgrounds accessible playground such as Magical Bridge. This item right now in front of you, staff would like you to first listen to what that is, so so everyone understands what Magical Bridge playgrounds are, as well as providing input, asking questions too, as we have a representative from Magical Bridge that will help explain this. And then if you ask questions to either myself as far as the install goes, or more about Magical Bridge, they are here to help us with answer those questions. Then after that, if you can just provide input, there's no action to be taken. There's nothing. If this is the council, that could this could be the place. But going forward, if the city will go forward with a playground, okay. So right now we're just looking for any input that the commission may have, and possibly even a recommendation that I could attach to this, because it's not the Magical Bridge. The cost of Magical Bridge playground is not currently for request. So that's where we are. So are there any questions to this point for me?
Well, I have I became familiar with this because I've been looking over the shoulders of City of Mountain View, because they're going to have their on November 29th at 3 o'clock, they're going to have their groundbreaking for their Magical Bridge playground. I went to their website. I was hoping to see plans, but there weren't any there that I, in my quick look could see. But the only other place that I've heard about this foundation was fantastic, and the foundation, goes around and finds agencies and asks if they would like it. So, I mean, I've always been a fan of accessible parks. I'm for you. One was this in the CIP Council of Senior? You just answered that, no. So this would be a separate funding action, correct?
Yes.
And then as far as the design, you're an open book at this point, or do you have ideas?
If you actually listen to, if there's any questions on this item going forward right now, I could helpfully answer and just clarify how this item is going to work. But if not, we could hand it over to our speaker here for Magical Bridge, and maybe some of those things that she talks about might be answered.
So we not necessarily be tied to Magical Bridges. We could set out RFP for whoever else would build something like this.
That is correct. We do have that option as a city, but Magical Bridge does have access, and as we'll hear on from our speaker, there's a way that they can do this to make it easier for cities, and that's why other cities have gone that direction. So at this moment, if there's no other question, yeah.
No, please.
Please come on up to the back, or you could. Oh yes, process.
All our
Schools have children that are disadvantaged and challenged and need this, or do some of the schools, or do they put them all in one school, or does anybody know that?
Every single one of our elementary schools has some kids that require accommodations.
Okay, cool.
Whether it's learning
I didn't know.
accommodations, physical accommodations, and And then at the high school, we also have, aren't quite as important at that age, the ones that I didn't mention are middle schools. They also don't necessarily have the, but where I have seen in other communities puts these playgrounds in because they're for community use, not just for school use.
Right, well, I was
And
trying
I'm
to
sure
figure
you'll
out,
correct me if I'm wrong, but that has been my experience.
I was trying to figure out location wise, which would be the best.
I would like to talk about that. So at this,
We actually had, my name's Chris Lowe, and was originally on the team of volunteers that brought the Magical Bridge Playground, the first one to Palo Alto in Mitchell Park. I don't know if you've all been there, but it's beautiful and very popular and successful. And since the opening of that, Olenka Villarreal, who's the founder and the kind of visionary of the playground, there's Magical Bridge. She was approached by other cities that day, actually, at the opening, and said, we want one of these, because it was so special and no one had seen anything quite like it. And so she turned her volunteer team into a foundation, and we've been working with cities since then and to open. We have, well, actually, I won't do all the graphic and like graphic design and multimedia and things. She made this amazing video to show you. But we have a Zoom
we're
lag
having some
problem.
lag issues as you've seen, so.
Without the vote, yeah, Sydney has a script, and it really does answer a lot of the questions about why Magical Bridge is so very special as opposed to an inclusive, accessible playground that's on the market. Because they do have those, because ADA requires playgrounds to have some accessibility, but Magical Bridge has kind of gone over and above that to include everyone. So if you school and things like that.
I have a technical question. So why can't we show this?
It's lagging a lot. We tested it before the meeting and it's lagging so much and you can't see it. You'll just see pieces of it.
It's not so much here you
What?
watch it, but on
Is there any
Zoom,
way that we could watch it at a later time?
Absolutely, absolutely. I can share that, and that's all I was gonna say. I can share that video with all the commissioners, so, not a problem.
Yeah, and we didn't anticipate that, so we only brought 2 brochures, but if you want to share or like kind of pass them around. But Sydney has this kind of the truncated script of it now, and that really.
.com or .org,
Foundation. Under my hand.
and I don't need the brochure.
Yes, right. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So today, 1 in 4 people in the United States are living with a disability. An estimated 10% of these disabilities are visible, such as using a wheelchair. However, 90% of these disabilities are invisible, such as autism and some developmental, cognitive, and sensory disabilities. Playgrounds, developmental, and cognitive legally accessible, as we mentioned, most do not consider the needs of everyone in the community. Often have sand or tan bark and hard to reach platform to no opportunity to move, swing, slide, or spin. Magical Bridge Foundation designs playgrounds for all ages and abilities because everyone deserves to play, explore, move, and connect. And seniors can all play together, and it's a place where inclusive truly means everyone. Since 2016, Magical programs for more inclusive communities. Magical Bridge currently has 7 playgrounds open to the public in the Bay Area, including 4 destination playgrounds in Palo Alto, Redwood City, Sunnyvale, and Morgan Hill, and many more are on the way, including playgrounds in Santa Clara, Mountain View, Daly City, and hopefully Los Altos. Our first international playground will open this December in New Zealand, and 2 more in development in Singapore. The foundation of Magical Bridge playgrounds are play zones, which zone is dedicated to a different play experience, such as spinning, sliding, or swinging, along with a playhouse, community stage, and a kindness corner. The playground design is scalable and can accommodate any size space. Our beloved kindness ambassador and volunteers, adults and teens of all abilities, and they host and organize events and activities, and most importantly, play local artists, musicians, storytellers, and magicians to perform on the community stage in the playground throughout the year. Magical Bridge especially enjoys spreading our mission of inclusion and to students of all ages. We offer kindness kits for download and invite students from local schools to playground inclusive. We're also very thrilled to have received this year's Best Community Resource of the Year award from the San Andreas Center. So from all of us at Magical Bridge, thank you for celebrating kindness and inclusive play. And we hope to see you on the play that you may have. Anybody?
I have a lot. Yeah. I've been to the park in Palo, with a bunch of kids and adults there, and it was, and low key within neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So so you put together a package of ideas, and then it gets.
We had just opened, and it allowed us to explore a smaller scale. And with that study, we figured out how to do neighborhood parks. So we have a lot of those. I live in Palo Alto actually, and we have a lot of those neighborhood parks too. And we, knowing that once Magical Bridge is so popular, it's like once you experience that, everyone's like, well, why aren't they all like that kind of thing? So we figured out how to take those zones and scale it down. And then also we're working with Tortola Valley, and they have very natural, a little more natural colors. And so really expanding our brand, I guess, and our style to accommodate the kind of the flavor and the culture of whatever city we're going towards. So we have, we've kind of priced out and actually zone mapped smaller footprints. So I know Manny and I, we have a couple playgrounds you had mentioned, and we kind of like looked at, we'll study like typography. We do community input meetings to find their demographic is, or phase meetings, and really try to reflect the community spirit within the playground. So they're all very different. Yeah, so we're very adaptable, I guess. And that's part of the benefit of working with the Magic Bridge Foundation, because them everywhere, and they're check the box, they have a little like a little ramp that goes to the swing, but the swing's in Tambar, so you can get there, but you can't really play. So we make sure that all the needs are met, and and that's part of the partnership that we have. And as far as building and designing, we in some cases we have designed and then a landscape architect that we partner with to do the type I'm gonna say geological studies and things, like to see like what the ground is like, the water, the heights and things. And they do all of that study, the trees, assessment, and make sure that we're very the process, and it's really fun, and you learn a lot. We look at the kids involved. Man, I think you know about the third graders from Loyola Elementary School. Yeah, they presented to the school.
Presented to this commission about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It was before a couple years. They had the student in their class.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Student in their class, who was in a wheelchair, and she couldn't get to the playground, and it bothered them all. And they went to the school board and pitched also, and she plays all the time there. And so so from the kids involved and that's one of the things we do. We go into, and so they, the Los Altos playground to me is like so special because when they first went to the school council, and they're freshmen now, and they're really excited to be kindness ambassadors at the Los Altos Magical Bridge. It's not to spoil you emotionally or anything, but those things are really great. It's such an earnest request.
So could you explain the kindness ambassador is somebody there all the time, or how does that work?
It depends. Often it's a public playground. Typically, I'll turn it over and open door for anyone. But the ones in footprint wise, but the more public playgrounds, they're up to the city to manage. But we come in with programming, and we enlist volunteers, and we have it on our website. We have a form, whether for Palo Alto, we actually facilitate the kindness ambassador program, but we most of those are teams actually, and they come on the weekends and activities, STEM activities, art activities, and so there's a teams there typically doing it, but because they don't allow the kids, I think they don't decide what age group. But we welcome all ages and abilities, and especially if someone doesn't usually have the opportunity to work somewhere else, it's a really great way for them to be involved with the community. Like if you do have a disability of some kind, for you to be on the playground. So, they're kind of ambassadors, and they wear vests, and they're out there. They have a kind of a rotating schedule, and they're not there out there all this time, but most afternoons, especially when school gets out and it gets very busy. So weekends and after school, but it's not something that we have. It's not required. You know, we try to put messaging and what this stands for, the bridge stands for. And so Elaine always says that when you enter the playground, you become a kindness ambassador by default, because you're here and you're part of this movement. So I don't know, that was a long-winded answer.
In terms of, you said you facilitate the kinds of,
Do you have like a website, a way for the public to sign up, or whatever criteria the agency decides,
Yeah,
whether it's teens or adults or anybody, and is that a service for which you charge a
program we're putting together now to facilitate it. Our team's getting a little bigger now, and we're realizing that programs are just as important as the playground, like keeping it active and having those opportunities for organized opportunities for everyone to come and play or to be involved with the community. So we're together, like kind of as part of our partnership with the city, we would have an ongoing program, like I guess a fee, I guess, or a management thing. In Redwood City, for example, infrastructure, and they're off and running, but Sunnyvale doesn't have the same amount of infrastructure. So we're coming in and with it's not a non-profit, but we just want to see the playground as active as possible.
not to get the core, you kind of opened it with your choice of words here. Partnership, nonprofit. So as a foundation, you're coming to agencies, and implicit in a foundation working with an agency, a public agency, you're talking about a private-public partnership, public-private partnership. And as a result, and you're a nonprofit, so there's some level of giving that you're giving to the agency, to the city. You know, you're not to maximize profit and all that.
No.
So model in terms of what's in it for you, and when you partner up with the city, because we're talking about cities right now. We have no jurisdiction over schools in our city.
Oh, is that right? Yes,
Schools are
that's right.
separate.
I think that's how it is in Palo Alto too.
That there's a joint use agreement that might be written up by the
Right.
city, but that's a totally separate process.
Yeah.
So we do not govern our school yards or facilities or
Mhm.
anything unless there's a joint use agreement.
Okay.
So you in terms of this entire thing.
Well, I mean, the easy answer for me is Olenka's daughter Ava, which sounds a little crazy, but when, Ava was born, she had kind of the brain power, I guess, of a one-year-old, a toddler, and she's fully active, she's nonverbal, but she didn't develop the way my kids did. And Olenka's one of my best friends, and for me, we take as much money as it takes to make more playground, and that's it. I mean, it's truly it. There's no big playground because of Ava and her friends. Okay, yeah, very answer for you. But I can probably get a better answer, and I know our COO Elaine Captain is amazing, and she can give you more of the numbers. I'm more of the
You're more the strategic.
marketing and
I got that.
I help the design of the playground and things, but
At the end of the day, we have residents in our city that are extremely financially minded,
yeah.
either by discipline, because they're CEOs or CFOs. We can advocate as needed.
I do know that our. Sorry, ma'am.
Knowing that this foundation is an NGO that actually has to publish their financials, those are very, so anybody in the public could find that under their search for their financials, being that they're a nonprofit.
Yeah, and we have 100% charity navigators, so we didn't take much, honestly, for it feels volunteer, and we do the people, there are only 7 people on our team, some are part-time, and so we all just want to make these playgrounds. And so the fee could, it does definitely keep us in operation, but there's not a lot of margin or anything. And this one is particularly special, as I said, because of those 2 girls, because of the Loyola kids.
To the Redwood City one, I don't know how big that plot is. Can you?
And how is only like 3/4 of an acre.
Yeah.
So the schools are even smaller. We kind of take the best zone and make sure that all of Magical Bridge is represented, but it's just in this smaller little package. Yeah. So instead of like 3 spinners.
Or how the playgrounds are, how they're working data.
Yeah, we don't we have some loose data, which might sound scary. When we first opened Palo Alto, we were curious. It was always busy, and we're like, how many people per month? So now that it's sort of dispersed, and then they've kind of there's more options. Yeah. It's, I mean, their playground, but I wonder. And they probably keep some sort of. Is that right? That's good. Yeah.
Are your playgrounds fenced?
There's a page that says makes Magical Bridge Magicals. And at the bottom, perimeter fencing is one of the key components of every Magical Bridge playground because we have a lot of getaways. Ava, for example, she's, like I said, she's 20 now, very active. And she just will take off and just go. And having that perimeter fencing really gives the parent or caregiver a peace of mind, and they can sit in a chair under a tree or something. So it's one of the actual defined criteria.
Like, and how it's working for the children and the people that are using it. So if you have anything that shows how it's actually functioning for people, because you set it up and park and you're after a certain thing that it's accessible to a lot of people. And so criteria that you've set up.
Well, besides just the fact that then to be almost invisible in itself, but I will have to ask questions about how to get that data because it's interesting. Because anecdotally we can say, and you'll see the wheelchairs on the we had a visitor in one of the videos, happened to be there when we were shooting for the video, this older gentleman who is blind, and a bunch of disabled students, actually they're a little older adults, came down a field trip. He was able to interact with them on the playground and wheelchair, some not. And they all engaged. Some kids from Santa Rosa drove down as a field trip because they were studying inclusive design. Their science teacher, that's like a passion of hers, and she drove them down. So this intersection of these to see the Magical Bridge is find he wants to build one in Colorado, and then these anecdotal stories or the things that you see visually, you just go spend time there. It's really, it just sort of checks the box. But the design itself, like the carousel is flushed at the bottom, developed and patented actually. And so when you get to the bottom of the slide, you can scooch over if you're on a wheelchair and you're waiting for the wheel, because that's what we're saying at the bottom, and you have all this tension, like I need a little extra time. Now is available in all the playgrounds. So there's things like that to collect the actual data, you know?
So related to that, I mean, it is hard to collect empirical data. They're handling your question a little bit differently, which is, if I had a child that had these, and cognitive differences, we know that the science behind it and how to address it, you know, I would get as much training as I could, but ultimately, if I took them to a place that is being told, I'm being told, this place will engage your child, please your child, know whether I have the the ability to say it does or it doesn't.
Right.
Some scientist or doctor or somebody has to say this activity is good for your child that has the challenges.
Right.
So where, you know, that, I think, you know, just for my own edification, that's a way to see how something works, and that is that some doctors or some authorities, we've done studies, academic studies, that have shown that these tools do engage children or adults or seniors faced with these challenges.
Right, well, I will say that Olenka, before Magical Bridge opened, she spent 7 years doing a deep dive, and it was 7 years ago, like, you were like 20 years ago. So 7 years prior to that, the inclusive playgrounds just weren't a thing, and she needed to make this for her daughter. And so she went and found every person who was in, like, from academics to, inclusive experts, if there was such a thing at the time, but at least people were thinking about it. And she speaks actually often there, and she helps to co-mentor a group of students at Stanford that are working to design for everyone. So, and then kind of refining it for Redwood City and all the future. But she did an extent. Maybe we can get you a link if you really want to know more about the research all over the United States. Jay Beckwith is the guy, he's an accessibility expert, he's years and years, and she just called earnestly and said, this is what I'm doing, can you help? And she's done a lot of research. She's very modest, you wouldn't know it by meeting her, she's just like the most, I'm sorry. Oh, she said we have a white paper. Oh, that's right, and worked with Stanford to show that this triggers vestibular and, oh, I can't even read that. But anyway, sometimes I know.
Actually, if you give us links to any references that would help us educate ourselves about this, we can get behind the project because we understand it, the better we can advocate.
I will put a link.
Any of those.
Yeah. I can give you I'm in the emotion behind it, and I've just been on the playground with my girls, like, so that I've seen it, but that's very important. So if we can put a package together, and I'll send it to Mandy to share. It'll include Sydney's video, which is really.
The video has already been shared. The video has.
Paper that's actually, I'm glad Elaine wrote that. Yeah, the expertise that she looked into, Olenka, when she's doing the 7 years of research for the first playground, is that the vestibular motion is really, really great for focus and balance. And they weren't sure what was wrong with Ava. So we have 34 playgrounds in Palo Alto, and not one of them had a swing that would accommodate her, because she doesn't have any upper body strength. She does somewhat, but she doesn't have the control. And so she had to drive to Saratoga to a therapy, like an indoor therapy room, in order to pay for like a half-hour visit for her to swing. She was just trying everything. So swinging was very important. And a lot of times these ADA, we call them like ramp and clamp or something, the typical playgrounds that you see everywhere, that you see, I mean, literally everywhere. They're the same, they're all very identifiable. They don't have any motion. If you think about it, that you can climb, but once you get up there, there's just like pathways, there's climbing, there's a slide, but there's no place to spin and no place to swing. And most swings are usually like the paddle at the back, have the more structured seat, but there's nothing for an adult who needs to, or someone Ava's age who needs to swing. So those are the kind of research showed how it affects the brain, the balance, focus. ADHD is very swinging and spinning are very calming for people with those types of things. That's why we're trying very hard to get them into schools, because recess doesn't. A lot of kids don't benefit from those clamping back there. As we said in the intro, there were restrictive pathways, and so we want kids to be able to explore and decide what they want to do, tentatively go. We have hideaway huts for kids who just need a little extra time to like observe the action, or just have quiet space to like be, calm, and there's them to just, stuff has fallen out of like research, although none of it looks like research. It just looks like fun, you know, so, but I
Like your programmatic, that's a differentiator. I think, you know, your, understanding that part of your business, is very important.
yeah. So that, on the cover of that is Down syndrome kids primarily. I think they might, but they have a theater group, and they put on plays and musicals and like all the time seasonally. And we at the community stage, so there's a lot of special things happen that you wouldn't normally see at other places, and that is due to the programs and the outreach that we kind of a community. It's a very resource for people who are looking at, and actually I feel like I'm speaking way too much. I'm very excited about being here though. But the seniors is a huge impact, a huge part of the Magical Bridge too, because in having adult fitness equipment, it's things you can think about when you think about where you want to put this. Because I've heard of Los Altos are over 55. That's right. And yeah, and my daughter over here loves the numbers, and she was kind of doing an analysis of like kids to adults and things. And it is, there's quite a bit of
That is
your
a strong
community.
demographic here, and
Yeah.
actually our fellow commissioner, Wang is very much into, adult fitness concepts.
Oh,
So I know that's an area of, yeah, as relevant as, you know, kids
for
and youth.
kids, right? Exactly.
It's possibly at this point in our lives even more relevant because we have a lot of people over 55.
Right, and so that's the mission, is all abilities and all ages because of that. And we really love that multi-generational connection. And last year, the Surgeon General came out with this isolation report. I don't know if you saw it, but like the isolation and loneliness is an epidemic in America. And probably it's a bit of a fallout from COVID, but it probably is a lot to do with the technology thing that we spend our time doing, but getting seniors outside and interacting with kids and just having that vitamin D and being out there. Anything we can do, I think, for seniors is huge. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you for being here, all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So Commissioner, if there's any discussion that wants to be had now on this item, we've asked the questions, and from the staff's point of view, based on what Magical are, I could probably help, and they've come to us in the past. They have had, and I think our speaker spoke on it a little bit, they had a large footprint for those playgrounds years past. We don't have very those in the regular cities. However, they have changed their model, or let me not change. They've adapted their model. Exactly. They've adapted their model to discussed. So that is something that that we are willing to take a look at. They had told us they were doing that 5-6 years ago, whenever it is they last. That's something that staff now sees and is willing to at least hear under this item is do it as well as do we have a location? What would be ideal? And once again, this is not of a vote. It doesn't have to be a vote. We still have the topographical surveys and stuff like that once this project gets moving, if it does.
So I would suggest that each of us just speak our mind for now as to your thoughts of what you've heard so far. Have any ideas or thoughts or recommendations recommendations as to location within our city parks. At this point, I would exclude school parks, school yards.
We cannot, yeah, I wouldn't say that we can include them, which means we would exclude
In
them.
other words, no assumptions of joint use agreements at this time. So, let's not include any of our school yards, just our public parks. So, does anybody want to start?
On Heritage, the right park?
Yes.
Yes, there's a bunch of, on the left side, a lot of area that's not being used. I think that would be a great place.
So it's south of the main park.
Yes.
Unincorporated areas.
Not being used, and the soccer kids don't use it, nobody uses it.
Or what about your thoughts on this whole concept?
I love it.
Okay, so in,
Afford it.
south of park, any other areas that you might suggest?
The only one that comes to my mind
Okay,
right now.
Great.
Thank you.
Sure, I think, I mean, the concept is great. Just thinking about residents of Los Altos, I would just want to know, is there demand? I mean, I'm assuming the answer is yes, but I just would want to know. Clearly, it sounds like when there is an installation, people come from all over. And so there's definitely demand outside the city, but I wonder what the demand would be like inside the city, but I'm sure there probably is.
Well, on my street alone, there's 3 children that have disabilities. That I know of.
And location?
I defer to our real estate expert. She knows the city better than anyone.
Not really, but.
So I've been pushing for inclusive parks and a passion of mine. I have some concerns and think that the people who are in our neighborhoods would want 20,000 people visiting their park. So I think that's something as a resident to be cognizant of.
How would you make it not a destination?
We'd make it smaller, for one thing, so you just have to maintain it smaller, and I just wouldn't advertise the heck out of it. Concern is, I want every park in our city to be in. I've been pushing for this just by saying inclusive feature, if not multiple inclusive features. So I worry about. So that's one big concern I have about this. I actually really enjoy the Magical Bridge in Palo Alto and could not focus with for me. So going into that house comforting, but I didn't find the house very interesting with the kids I was with, fitting what's best for children. That's why I was asking, is there data? Is there proof that this is working for for the people that they're trying to have it work for? How many people are leaving because it's too chaotic? How do we deal with that? So I think it's important to understand disability, because you have, as they were saying, the physical ones that you can see, and there's so many you can't see. And unless you live in the body that has those disabilities, you really don't understand how it affects the person. That needs to be explored a little bit. So cost inclusive, at least in some way, is hugely important to me. I like the Magical Bridge concept. Can we do the same sort of the vendors that we have? What's the cost difference between working with the vendors that we know and paying biggest bang for the buck when we spend it. I wanna make the vast, the wide range of that adults use the equipment, and you will see that at the Palo Alto one. You see a lot of adults trying it out and seeing how it works. So I like the idea. I have concerns about destination cost and hitting all of the disabilities and making it good for everybody. And I want to see it in every park. I just think that some park have these features. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Wang, your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually agree with a lot of what Teresa had said. I think the idea is fantastic, and I think it's really important to have those, inclusive elements in parks and in playgrounds. I worry that, if you build one that is, predominantly for the disabled communities, that, isolating, and are we better served, putting these elements in the parks that exist where, kids and families and communities gather? Is there something about the Magical Bridge sort of concept, or any of the structures that they have that's, kind of like an exclusive or proprietary that's really special? Otherwise could, the vendors that we currently use, for playground equipment, do they have those things? One of the points that, Manny had raised when we talked about just, parks in general was, maintenance, right? And having the same sort of parts and being able to maintain the equipment in a way that's operationally really efficient with the staff that we have. So, looking at, kind of the maintenance requirements would be, something that, we should consider. But in general, I think it's, really important that we're having this conversation and that, moving forward an effort to make our playgrounds more inclusive. And then, just with respect to location, I like the idea of, expanding upon or replacing stuff, at existing locations where people gather. Because that's a really natural kind of place. So, where there's, existing parks or structures or, things that we wanted to look at, I think, Teresa and Janine had, surveyed all the different parks and had, recommendations for what we could do. Is there one or two that would be prime candidates, right, to pilot or to go first for something that is, including those, inclusive components, and maybe even outdoor fitness for adults?
I mentioned something that came up for vendors. We don't gonna work. Yeah. Yeah, so all of.
Sure.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Unless
wasn't
we-
clear in that.
unless we,
We'll send it to.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever you hear here that spawns
Oh,
you
okay.
to action, go for it. Okay, are you done, Commissioner?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't get location input from you, Commissioner Morris.
Yeah, I was thinking about it as, we were talking about the different, but I would, I just don't want to see it be a destination park, because I know that it's going to be worse than dog park conversation. So, about too many people in our small neighborhood. So, as far as the Heritage Oaks one goes, that one is that part that is what I call unincorporated or that's too close to homes usually, and it comes up that it gets closer to homes as it gets to that area. But, I could see it, you know, like, we're looking at Shell Park as being the next park that is supposed to be updated, I believe, and I was really biting at the bit for that one to have inclusive features in it. And it's a larger park, so I could see it being there, or maybe Grant Park.
Parking there is nasty.
Well, we have two parking lots, two parts of parking.
Nasty.
If we could just, yeah, if we can just give suggestions.
The other one would be maybe Grant Park, but the parking and everywhere is challenging. We don't, I mean, so if you're talking about the most parking, isn't Rosita?
Here or Rosita?
Yeah, so it would be here or Rosita
So,
to accommodate parking.
okay.
I mean, I think it would be lovely here, right? I don't think we have the space. Yeah, I don't.
I agree with you. I kind of was trying to say the same thing. Destination park, I mean, and there are certain parks that I can't opine on, but I will say as a general matter, we have destination parks already in our city,
Yes,
and they take over the city,
They do.
the neighborhood. So I think the state.
That, and yeah, and staff will think about that. Can you help me understand what you mean by we have them already? Shall, okay.
University Avenue, up and down, they park in the middle of the street to get their strollers out, they block the traffic, it's out of control. All the time.
Parking.
I know,
There's
but I.
Parking at any of our parks is the problem.
Except Rosita and here.
Rosita and here are the only two places that have the parking. And if you talk about here, you're talking about maybe that area out
Yeah,
on the side.
Exactly,
But the problem is if you put
Getting
it there, it's right on the neighbors.
yeah.
So then where do we put it? So every space is sort of.
And Rosita
spoken
Park's
for.
the same way.
Every park in our city is embedded in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
and that's, they're meant to be neighborhood parks.
So what we have to do, okay, so let me give my comments. I'm in favor. I worked with Commissioner Morris on the assessment of all the parks in our city for inclusivity. Our guests noted, we believe that the accessibility was not where it should be for a city of our caliber. Until one where we looked at every single park and said, what little thing can we do here? We had issues with surface everywhere, but what little things can we do here functionally? The thing, and so we wrote that report. We didn't come up with a grand vision. We didn't come up with a large scale mobilization. We were thinking incrementally for budget reasons, for, you know, use what's in place and just change out some things. That we were going to try to do, we're going to bring what I'm really excited about with this kind of a solution. Two things. One, it's a foundation. They're not out to kill us for profit, which all of the vendors these days are out to do, where they charge extraordinary amounts for every little bit that we try to get. But what really is differentiating to me is the programmatic element. We have a small Parks and Rec department, and therefore if we can get a facilitator who offers as service for nonprofit level fees, something that our low revenue city could afford, to have the programmatic elements come in to support the users, to make sure that if somebody is because they're in the wrong zone, to help guide them to the right zone, whether they're an adult or a child. That's something that we should put a lot of qualitative and quantitative value in my opinion, because there's the naivete of the parents or the lack of supervision or facilitation. The facilities might not get used, or they might get used improperly. So I frankly, I also, my understanding of Magical Bridge Playgrounds, even though that they're tailored, the fact that they're tailored for inclusivity means that everybody can use it, even able-bodied people and able, you know, these. So I don't feel like it's an exclusive or exclusionary situation targeted only for a particular demographic. I believe in inclusiveness. I think the programmatic element is very compelling, at least it is to me. Nature, because not only does that allow more expert people with more experience than we, Magical Bridges in this case, to do some work, but also they help facilitate the community of the community foundation. I can see collaborations with the schools. I can see collaborations with the Rotary, with a lot of other entities where you could find and educate the general public through their volunteerism to become more aware of this part of our demographic that for the most part is invisible. I mean, the fact that that is an honest statement, but it just demonstrates how unaware most of us are about the number of people in our city that would benefit from a place like this. As far as the destination, I hear what everybody is saying. The fact is, though, every single one of our parks is close to homes. With that in mind, my preferred location is Rosita #1, because it has parking. There is, even though it is close to a neighborhood, there is some separation because it's behind the tennis courts that are already used. It's close to a school, so people are aware that kids are around, adults are around, cars are around. So I like Rosita, and that playground needs to be renovated just like every other one. The other one is, and I'm a baseball fan, and I'm a youth sports it may be time to repurpose Hillview Baby Field for something like this. And then all the little baby baseball players, they can go to small diamonds. It is a loss. I didn't want to give it up for a dog park, even if enclosed, but I think for this, it would tip my scales. I'd be willing to give up that baseball field for this. I don't see, even though your idea is an excellent one with Heritage Oaks, then
That's not true.
they do not want even a tiny dog park there. They don't want anybody, because there's not a lot of parking.
They're not opposed to interventions, they're opposed to what's been good for that area. But they do know it gets closer to home as it gets to the narrow end.
Yeah,
You
and
have to be aware of that.
there's no place to put parking, like we can't add. So I think parking is critical, and there's a reverse psychology here, where if you don't want a destination park, don't put parking in. Don't put parking in, then it doesn't become a destination. But then the fact is,
And they park on the street though.
exactly,
Like,
then they invade, and so it's a default. But it become a destination. There's just really no way to get around
So
it.
I'll amend I like this location the best. Just because there's
think
more
it-
parking.
I don't think it has to be a destination park if we do enough with all of our parks.
Well, I
So
agree
that
with
this
that.
isn't unique.
And that's my closing comment has to go back to the study that Commissioner
Yeah.
Morris and I did a couple of years ago. CIP program where every single play structure that we replace over the next several years, because they're all past their sell-by date, even if we don't go full for Magical Bridge Playground, it becomes a paramount priority that the service is accessible, and then some features are added. Them down so that we can make more rather than have one big, maximal. I would be really up for that. Maybe there's a park for people that need quiet, the structures that people need quiet or tactile, and maybe there's another one where they need, vestibular motion, they need swinging, they need up and down, they need visual, stimulation. Maybe we create parks for different uses. So I'm a huge fan. I love the program. For me, it's gotta be Rosita or Hillview baseball.
Manny, do you have everything you need?
I've got everything I need. Thank you.
And I have one more thing. I'd like to see a comparison to what Magical Bridge can do and what our other vendors can do. So as I've said before, I'd still like to bring in the expert that is, one of the vendors, which I have just haven't looked up. No, it's not landscape structures, and get a comparison, maybe cost-wise, materials-wise, that kind of thing. So that would be my recommendation. So let's see where else, maybe it's gonna be rubies, not diamonds, but let's see, because we need to understand the process. It's easy to get caught up in this package idea, but I think we have to get caught up in the cost also.
Can I see that old report? Can you send us that old report that you were talking about?
The report, yeah, the park assessment that Commissioner Morris and I did 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, I can send you. I can send
You send it to Manny.
Yeah, if you could resend it if you have it.
Yeah, so.
Thank you.
So my only comment on the cost is I hear everything you're saying, and that's correct, but we have to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. So if
Exactly.
we're comparing features that a regular provider, a full profit provider could do, well, then we'll have to cost out the programmatic support. And that cost.
So in closing, just with this, I hear the comment, and that's something we would do anyway, just to see. But with Magical Bridge, how to put these things together. They know how to put all those aspects. They have a specialty in that, and a lot of the other companies would have to actually price out for that. Yeah, so with that.
Correct you on that, because the other vendors actually have specialists. So I want to make that really clear, and the one I'm talking about does have it. I just want to make this clear, and I want to see the data, and I want to see that these parks work. So that's the big thing, is that we can talk about this, and it's really exciting. I'm super excited about this idea. I've wanted this for a long time. I just want to make sure we do it in the smartest way possible.
Yeah, we'll do our best.
Okay, so that's it.
We'll do our best.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director Hernandez,
Yes.
do you want to be the person that talks to vendors in the sense that, for example, Commissioner Morris couldn't remember the name of the vendor, but
I'll
I'm sure
find
you
it.
go home and you'll find it. Would she call?
No, please don't. No, please don't.
So
Talk
you
to-
would give that.
That's a staff
Because
decision.
my question for any regular vendor that we would have used for park structures would be the specialist, but the consultation in terms of how you do the park layout. But I also want to know if they offer the services to create facilitation, the engagement ambassadors in the park.
They sell for profit. That's those are the companies, and that's what we understand. But we will look at every aspect. Thank you.
I mean, there are people trying to put together parks for ADHD, Asperger's, that kind of thing. So that's what, we have to look into that stuff. Right, we have to see what else is out there.
Great.
Thank you.
Good discussion. Are we done with discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to item 5.
Okay, so item 5, Chair, if I might think, item 5, if I might. This item, we just, wanted to. February, just coming up, we have a scheduled, joint meeting with the council to discuss the work plan. Next item, our next meeting, the main item on the agenda will be the work plan. This commission will work on that work plan and hopefully have a draft finalized. If not approved, at least the draft finalized to take into that joint meeting with council. So, but I will get you the actual date. I think it's the 13th or 14th, whatever that Tuesday is, in February. So we're scheduled in there for that joint meeting where you'll discuss your work plan. So with this item on this agenda today, If the commissioners would like to share any discussion items that we will be discussing with the full commission in the January meeting while working on the work plan as to take to that joint meeting to talk to council about. Anything as from the commission handbook to the work direction that council may give this commission, those are commission. Now, do you have questions?
Would it make sense for us to look at the work plans from the prior park commission and the Los Altos Arts Commission before we come to, so we all review it
Yes.
before we come to the next meeting?
Absolutely. Have that, all right, and I meant to say that, I will have that sent out to the commissioners, so you can compare those things and see what we'll be discussing, and put them all together, and understanding that the work plan, and this is, it's difficult concept to grasp once you get in the heat of discussion of the work plan. It's a 1-year plan, so let's lay out 1 year of things to do, because it gets big, especially when you're bringing 2 commissioners, so something to keep in mind. I will get those out to you as soon as possible, if not this week, next week.
Try not to say.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like just today amongst the 5 of us is to just have a brainstorm. You know, to the extent that those that were in park kind of remember our prior work plan, and those that were in art kind of remember what you were doing in the past, but also what we've seen here today and what we know is going on in the city. If people want to just do a brainstorm tonight, and then I know that this would not become memorialized in the minutes, correct? Because it's not an action, this brainstorm. So everybody would kind of need to take notes tonight so that you would have to think about that before we come to the January meeting, where we have to actually delay this topic until January, but I didn't want to.
Yeah.
We agreed that we really need to do it now, so.
Well, we don't have time. January is our only meeting, and we're doing
Correct.
the 13th
So
or
that's
14th. We only
why we
have
need
one
to
meeting.
start today.
Okay,
Um,
yeah,
You don't have a meeting in December?
No,
no, not anymore.
So the pressure is on. So I would like to entertain everybody to just throw down their ideas, and Director Hernandez, if I wrote down everybody's ideas and I gave that list to you, could you then send it to the commissioners?
Sure, I can send it with the previous work plans when I do that.
Okay.
No, that's great.
Okay. I know they don't become part of the minutes, so it's not an action, but the thing I don't like about action. So willing to take input, ideas for this next year, next work plan, things that we should work on.
Oh, for art. We're gonna have 2 of them.
Say it?
We all have 2 of them. We'll have the steps, and then I think we have the general call for art. And then actually there's one for the community center.
So pardon my ignorance, but when you folks would face a new year and create a work plan, did you have a strategy set out for the type of art you were going to seek, or the locations, or the activation of it, or did you just send out general call for art?
We talked about it after, we just had calls for it, and then we thought of ideas of what we were gonna do.
Okay.
And so the process is and the commission has to act on them and decide where things go, where they get placed. Then the staff has to work with the artists to see if a contract can be negotiated.
So you don't survey the city geographically and say, we've identified 10 areas where we want something to decorate the art. And
Oh, yeah,
then-
we did all that, trust me. We did all that. We
So
have a map of everything, of every place that needed spaces.
Commissioner Pictorial kind of led that.
Yeah. We also had a maintenance, we had a lot of things that needed to be fixed, so we did maintenance on that. We did an inventory of everything that was sculptures that were here, what ones needed work, what ones needed plaques. we did all that.
So is that just a one-time thing, or is that something that needs to be included in our work plan?
well,
Be updated,
We haven't even
especially
finished,
given all the buildings.
we haven't even finished all the, maintenance of the ones that
I'm not
need.
talking about it's just the scope of the work.
I mean, I think that some aspects of it have to go on the work plan, because at some point, I think you have to have an ad hoc subcommittee to go and do the research, for example, for where things are gonna go. There's also the other issue that Commissioner Couture just mentioned, which is ongoing maintenance. I mean, that's another big project. So anything else you can think of?
So that's not under call for art. These are
No, that's
separate.
separate. They're separate.
Yeah, okay.
Separate.
So we've
They're
got
separate.
call for art, we have maintenance.
Yeah,
We also had, I don't know if we want to do this anymore, but we had the public art engagement events.
right.
And we had pop-ups.
Pop-ups, yeah.
So I think, yeah, I was thinking that would be
Something
fun
like
if
that,
we did
yeah.
that.
Did you
And-
call them
and we
pop-ups
also
or
did
public-
an
did you
pamphlet.
call them public art engagement events?
We called them public, I think if I'm getting it right, public, art engagement. Commission, and also, different parts of the city, like we had an event here, a new community center, what was new, and then we had an event in the campus. You guys know, you guys were both there.
Yeah, and they were,
Rather than, you know, just.
Those
and
are
they had
like,
to sign up.
yeah.
So that it was publicized and sign up.
Well, because we had to buy all the supplies. and
Right,
stuff.
right.
And so both of those required subcommittees.
What about, collaboration with outside organizations? And
Could be other.
and
Yeah, one of the things that, I mean, we could, I think, the youth commission. I think we've been asked to do that, if I recall correctly, by someone on the city council. They wanted us to, collaborate more with that amongst the commissions. I don't know if you guys got that kind of directive. That, you look puzzled, does that make sense?
I'm trying to recall, and I'm
Okay.
thinking we were enjoying to collaborate with the city commission because of the grant.
Commission, historical commission about
We don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that just has to be a public meeting, right? We can, yeah, we work with them.
So did I get this? It's call for art is one thing, and there's the city council steps, the community center, and what else?
Maintenance.
Maintenance.
No, okay, maintenance, but there were other call for art things. Okay,
Oh,
the
there
community,
are three calls for art.
one is the city council steps, one is the community center, and what's the other one? So the thing about the community center, isn't that multiple calls for art, like seasonally? Cause I know of, these two, how many hangings are there a year?
Well, I did too.
So we have one up for 6 months and we have another one up
So
for
these
6
are
months.
rotating exhibitions.
Yes,
As differentiated from.
installations.
Correct.
Are there any other places in the city where such rotating exhibitions happen under?
Nope.
Okay.
I think we had talked about city council chambers, but that is off the table now because of the wall.
All,
Because of.
sound, it's acoustic, it's special walls.
They don't
that we
want
can't
anything on the
touch.
walls.
Not like the old wall. And then there's maintenance or, and then was it location identification? Was that another one?
Maintenance inventory is
Yeah,
what I have.
we did inventory because we wanted to do a pamphlet and we have,
Commissioner, you know.
yeah, Jenna is working on it, yeah.
So that doesn't need to be on the,
Well, it needs to be on the work
It's
list.
part of, yeah.
We got a couple more sculptures coming, right?
okay, all right.
For sure has to be updated.
Yeah.
And we actually, I think, have sculptures that are out right now getting maintained.
Yes, we do.
They're gonna have to come back.
Okay.
And in terms of the, ongoing, play structure replacements, you know, we would have in our work planning, you know, engagement with that. I mean, to what extent? You know, there's a public process for every park design or play structure design. And, you know, is that purely conducted by staff, or do we have a role in that?
The role would be, this commission's part of that public process. I would, unless there's something special that you want to look at, that the commission is interested in looking into, such as the aspects that Commissioner Morrison, you looked at in the past.
Yeah, accessibility.
The accessibility, if there's components you want to look at, then maybe the commission can deal with that as their work plan, but I think staff can handle the schedule for replacement and bringing all of those aspects through the public process to the commission at some point.
Yeah, I think that because our previous vision was, no, let me restate. Because our action was incremental, I think people may have mistaken that for a small vision. When you and I had very big visions, it's just that we were trying to be economically practical.
I was trying to get something in our park.
Right,
And so were you.
So I think that our work plan should reflect a very strong
I agree.
statement about it goes beyond ADA. It's the inclusivity, the accessibility, the engagement with, you know, all the demographics of people in our city. And that we want to have, you know, we have something to say about that. So I would sum it up by saying accessibility and inclusivity of all our parks.
You know, the way I look at it
And then
is,
drive projects within that, so that's it.
the way that I look at it is, we are the residents, and so for me, and also the more eyes that are on something, the better. So for our parks, what I understood, you know, not that long ago, was that we were gonna be actively involved in the Seychelles Park redo in a way. And the designer, and then we were gonna have public outreach. So it sounds like we're doing this differently now, where you guys, staff is gonna work with the vendors, and then it's gonna come to the park commission, or then it's gonna go public. And that's what I'm hired to, you know, prior knowledge was that we were gonna be working on that. And then we would, you know, make recommendations, be more
Don't we
involved in
wanna
the
find out? We want to find out what the public wants first before we do anything
Well,
else.
I think that's a great idea. Like, you meet with the public and then you go from there, but you do usually have to have a designer for that,
Right.
right? Like, there's something that has to happen.
Well, if we look, for example, at the dog park.
Yeah,
with the
exactly,
dog
dark
park.
park.
Yeah, but that was all conducted by staff.
No, the dog park of
No,
the
no,
the
I'm talking about the community.
iteration of it.
Right, and you're talking about the early stuff where
The
you.
early stuff, the commission did it.
Yeah,
We did the dog park workshops,
yeah.
and I'd kind of like to see that happen for our parks, but
Well,
are we not allowed to do that?
let me differentiate. The dog park is a new use. Dog park is something that's not here. We wanted to talk to the public. The commission was involved because we didn't know that the public even wanted a dog park. Let's just, to be technical. So that process was gone. Commission was involved in that. Staff led it, same thing. However, we currently have playgrounds. And we are changing that. It is a maintenance project. So we are replacing those playgrounds. The input that was received through some of the studies, if there's something special, which it was, we talked about the accessibility, the inclusivity of these playgrounds. That's being looked into. We have your input as commissioners, members of the public, as well as working with the public here for that open public space. We're taking that and we're going to give you a product. Remember, the more that the commission gets involved, the slower the process goes. That's definitely something I give you a product. It's not a product that you would recommend. Then we take it back. We're going to keep coming back through that public process if there's something. things move faster like that. If you're involved in, you're not, I say, you're not, don't have an expertise and understanding. And I will bring up the experience that we had in replacing the last playgrounds that we replaced in front of in front of Lacey and the one over at the San Antonio Club. So in that process, we brought the product to the commission, okay, yes, it looks great, this is what we're gonna do, from the designer. So the designer with landscape structures came through and said, okay, give them this one first. They saw it, we went back, they wanted to make some changes, some of those changes were possible. So I just put that out there as an example of one thing. So yeah, to come and ask for some new usage like a community garden, a dog park or something like that. Yes, we want the commission to get input from the public process. Is always gone. A maintenance turnover like that, if we're gonna replace the grass with a certain type of grass at a park, that's not something that this commission would get involved in. Now, the commission has been involved in the playgrounds though. And so that's what we're looking for. And that's why something like this, we'll ask for that too. If the commission wants to get more involved, then we can have a discussion. But
One thing, I hear what you're saying. I will say, kind of a bummer for me, but I totally get it, you know, practical. What I want and what I realize is efficient are two different things sometimes, and I can deal with that. However, I would suggest that if we go down a path like this, you know, I'm not dismissing the competitive and comparative concept for our city. And it's not the turnover of the equipment, it's the programmatic, you know, I would suggest that there probably few people in Los Altos wouldn't understand, what do you mean kindness ambassadors? And they could interpret that all kinds of ways. So this scope of a project, that there might be a role for the commission in terms of doing education. Because in the out.
that's exactly why I'm starting here with that.
Yeah.
That's exactly, so we have it, we're gonna have a designer, we're gonna have a plan for it. This is something that we brought to the commission. I'm getting input to start with. I'm not gonna run off and do the project. Staff isn't gonna run off and do the project. There's gonna be more discussion with some of the comments that we received today.
So for example, it might be interesting to host through the Parks and Rec or through us having, I know this is gonna sound vendor specific and I don't mean it that way. Maybe we have to go or somebody that can come in and just talk to this concept as just a seminar, a webinar through Zoom.
I think it's not a bad idea, but aren't we just talking about the work plan right now?
That's what I was.
Well, I'm saying
Add that to the work plan?
yeah, so you add it to the work application via the most accessible means we have, which is a. I think the commission could have a role. It's always working with staff to make sure we're not overlapping or stepping on staff work, to educate the public, and then because you can always ask Q&A in a webinar to get community engagement, and they're really easy to do. They don't take space. They just take a Zoom account and a little bit of PR through the normal channels and through the city manager's channels. And I think it might behoove us to have a place in our work plan for such a thing.
Just put it on, we can talk about it again. I think we should do that.
I also think the community garden itself should be on our work plan.
But it is. That's what I'm thinking, because we can all, because we, I mean, at some point, I would say this is a brainstorming session.
Yeah,
Put everything
webinar.
on, because as Teresa said, we can't solve whatever it is, can't do everything, but prioritize.
I thought the community garden was a done deal.
The community garden is funded, it's not a done deal. We have to go through the public process.
Yeah.
And council can still shoot it down, but it's funded, that's all it is.
I'm totally stuck on the fact that it's students and that it's not a community garden.
Is that-
Is that changed? I don't know why I'm just locked on that. Cause you told me that, I know that.
Yeah, that was the
It's changed.
proposal.
Okay.
Much like Magical Bridges is proposing that.
Okay, 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 I'll try to get on.
I have a question.
Mhm.
With your plan that you guys made, and you had, I'm just taking, I'm taking an example. So there's parks that are being redone, refurbished, fixed, whatever. Can't we put one of those fancy swings and take one of the other swings out?
That's went through all that, yeah.
That's what's in the recommendation.
Vendors
So
on,
can we put that on the work plan?
That'll be part of the.
that's what I put here, park structure replacement, accessibility, inclusivity, that's on the brainstorm. Webinars and education, community garden, all the ones we talked about, art, there was one other that I wanted to add. It was, dog park enablement, okay, activation. Activation, this has nothing to do with the design of the dog park. The dog park gets designed, it's done, it's already implemented, grand opening, they cut the ribbon, now what? I am never a fan of a dog park that is left in isolation for people, just like ambassadors, yes, dog park ambassadors, and that's a community, so I call it dog park activation. Whether it's with trainers, whether it's with, experienced residents, whether it's, youth that are wanting to become dog people, or veterinarians or whatever, there are ways to activate our dog parks, and then that protects the dog park from abuse, and it keeps, it's a supervise and having animal control out, checking on its behavior.
Okay, how about dog park next steps? Because it's about what are we gonna do? Are we gonna do anything with the dog park? Are we gonna?
I'm very specifically talking about, you have a finished, beautiful product, and now how do you engage the
Sheriff, if I might, it's an idea, it's brainstorming, so I mean, can we just put it down and discuss it? Discuss it in January, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the community garden has the same concept, right? It's not only the design, but then eventually it'll be its activation, who uses it, all that kind of stuff.
And does Cindy have?
Now, I'm
Cindy,
just
yeah.
gonna go to Commissioner Wang, any brainstorm ideas?
Well, I'd love to, put the adult fitness back on the work plan, but very specifically, maybe a proposal for one, right there at the building, the thing that Manny, you and I had talked about. Is that something that's appropriate to
Yes,
put on
yeah,
the work
and
plan
that's
or not?
fine, Commissioner. Yeah, and I could write it down and we'll see if we put it in the work plan on January, that's fine. But I don't think it's necessary, that's already been funded and we're moving forward with the public process, so, okay?
Oh, that's in process?
Maybe we just have a work plan item called support public processes.
Yeah. I'll write it down and we'll talk about January.
It takes a minute for her to.
Exactly.
And respond.
What do you guys think about, I'm gonna use this word again, because this is what I hear from ours have been taken. Park activation, and specifically, I'm talking about Lincoln Park activation. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know what it means.
What that means is right now we've got a big swath of narrow land that is there. It's pretty, it gets used a few times a year for special events, but not much else. And like we don't hold classes there, or we don't do, there's no community engagement activities that happen there.
Let's put it down. We'll talk about it in January.
So this goes to that idea of pop-ups that we had before. and the idea of bringing more activity to our parks. So
So can we put it down?
talk about it, yeah, as more
as more,
parks,
yeah.
not just Lincoln Park, but more parks.
Understand, and we can put it down and we can figure it out in January.
We want to,
Yep,
yeah.
and how we wanna word it.
All right, so,
Okay.
It doesn't, it's not
This is.
terminal. We can bring more on January.
going back to one though, the public art engagement events, and we did pop-up events, so can we?
Let's
that what we
discuss
wanna
that
call it?
January, yeah.
All right, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we can, I'll bring it. And if there's more ideas in January, we can talk about it then. All right.
Okay.
We absolutely need item 6. Year in 2024 on here as the calendar. We have no meeting in July, no meeting in November. Every other meeting is the third Tuesday. Obvious changes that we need to make right now that I may have missed. No,
Tuesday of month,
yes,
and no July. No,
November, next year. So November, the date in November will be the
19th,
19th.
the 21st, I believe we'd have to check, is Thanksgiving again. As this year, it's the 23rd.
This week.
It's just like this week, yeah. I think
And I think we should have the meeting, and the reason it's important is because of the.
we could
Not
do,
have the meeting.
what we could do is push it up or
Just
push
change
it back a week.
Yeah, exactly.
We can do that, and decide that later.
Yeah, we could just approve this and decide it later too. So if we're good,
2024 Park Commission's meeting schedule.
all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to,
Can we continue that one? I do not.
Yes, we can continue it.
Thank you.
continue 7, do we have to vote on that?
No, that's up to you, Chair.
And the reason we want to continue is because,
Information, Chair.
Flux.
Yeah.
It's all in flux.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Being uncertain, okay, it'll be up to you to bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk.
Parking lot proposal,
I information because the engineer didn't get to it, which is probably a good thing at this point. But we already are working on a draft of adding more parking to the library that's close to the entrance. We increase them immediately in front of the library. With that increase, it will more for the plan is to more than make up for the 16 spaces. If, and I will say it for anybody in the public, if we lose any or all of those spaces I'll get that draft out to you once the engineers finish it.
Okay. These are all reports, requests for future agenda items.
I have something, but I'm not sure if it's proper for a future agenda item, and that is, can we get a flag in the room?
Okay.
Okay, cool.
I have a future agenda item request. So Jim Wing has come in a couple of times and spoken to our commission about the Redwood Grove area. The pathway, the creek, and we really can't, and maybe you'll be educating us more about like the stairs, but could we put it on the agenda? Also brings up the Redwood Grove.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
He knows.
he knows a lot.
He knows a ton. He's a really good Redwood Grove.
Yes.
Yes.
Can we just put that on the future agenda? I think.
And then just so the commission knows, I'll have more information that way, because the two cities are working together, try to get this agreement to plan a in or the path that's being used, non-official. Some residents made it a pathway, and our recommendation is it's not a pathway, don't use it, because people slide and fall and stuff, but they still use it.
Okay,
So
we're not supposed to be talking.
I know, I'm just giving an update on
Okay.
where the staff is with it.
Okay,
So it's
I have a
not,
question.
we're working on
So
it.
would you be?
Are you okay with us adding it as a future agenda?
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't know when that's gonna come though, because I'd like to bring more information on where we are with the project.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Hold on. Oh, yes, another public input we had was from the Los Altos History Museum in terms of, how can they get funding for, or collaboration with the city with regard to replacing the trees that were taken out?
Oh, okay. I'll write
And
that down.
for adding art that not necessarily, using.
You think that that should be for a future agenda item, not the next meeting, because the next meeting, I think we're gonna be pretty tied up on that.
All of those are future.
It's uncertain.
Okay, perfect.
Really, there's probably only one thing on the next. agenda.
Yeah.
Solutions on landscaping and art. Any others, Commissioner Wang, any future agenda items on your part?
Nope.
Okay. Folks, are we ready? We're gonna adjourn at 9 o'clock.
I ain't even-
Thank you.